The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Hello again, everybody. Hey, and welcome to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Hey, it's time to kick the tires and light the fires here as we head into Week 11, second week of high school football playoffs here in the state of Missouri. Coming up on today's show, we'll run through some of the matchups. We'll talk a little bit about volleyball. We'll have our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athletes of the Week, including Tavis Lemmer from Clever High School Football was our Springfield area quarterback club small school defensive player of the year. We'll have a little bit with Missouri milestones with Shannon Crouch, and we'll talk to the James family from Willow Springs as well. Hope that you stay tuned here on the Missouri Sports Network, where everyone has a home field advantage. We'll start off with volleyball in Class 1. Winona goes for back-to-back state championships, heading into the semifinal match tonight at 8 p.m. versus Northland Christian. In Class 2, St. Vincent wins their first ever state championship last night, 3-0 over Herman. And since the postseason began, they've only given up one set in 6 matches. And in Class 3 volleyball, my alma mater, Mount Vernon, and head coach Bridget Smudge has made it to their first Final Four in history of the school. And they'll face Sax League Lutheran. That match started at 2 p.m. today, and I do not have the final there in that semifinals. These championships, by the way, are taking place in the Civic Arena in St. Joseph, not in Poplar Bluff as in previous years. And in Class 4, St. Michael defeated St. Pius X 3-1 last night to win their state championship. And we may hear later on tonight from St. Michael head volleyball coach Lori Hanaway. And in Class 5, Nixa falls last night to Lafayette Wildwood 3-1. Lafayette Wild is looking for their 4th consecutive state title and their 10th in the last 15 years. Moving on to football and 8-man football, Lockwood, who's clearly the best team in Southwest Missouri and probably among the best in the state, they will host Greenfield tonight, whom they defeated by 55 points earlier this year. The Lockwood Tigers are only giving up 18 points per game while scoring 66 points per game. Clay Lassiter is their head coach and a longtime member or resident, I guess, of Lockwood, excuse me. He's also not only the football coach, but he is the superintendent of schools. In Class 1, District 3, where Marionville, Thayer, Miller, and Ash Grove are all members, probably the toughest Class 1 district in the state of Missouri. Tonight, Marionville hosts Miller, who they just defeated 45-6 just 2 weeks ago. And Pierce City upset Ash Grove and now gets to travel to Thayer. Marionville will likely travel to Thayer next week, and that winner, barring injuries, will be the favorite in my mind to take home the Class 1 state title. But they're going to have to get by a very good Salisbury team from up north for sure. In Class 2, Forsyth is at Springfield Catholic tonight. Catholic, who was 3-7 last year and now 8-2 this year under Springfield area quarterback club City Coach of the Year Wes Page. This will be the second meeting this year between these two. Catholic winning the first one 50-34 back on September the 26th. And anytime you talk about Class 2, you have to mention the Lamar Tigers. They're 6-3, but last year they entered the postseason at 5-4. Then they outscored their opponents 206-85 in their 6 postseason games on their way to a state championship a year ago over a very good Fairgrove team. Lamar has played in 12 of the last 14 state championship games, and they've won 10 of them. Whomever gets there we'll likely see a very good Blair Oaks team coached by Hall of Fame legend Ted LePage. In Class 3, Seneca hosts East Newton, and Mount Vernon travels to Cassville this year. Lamar defeated East Newton 42-6 in week 2, and Cassville defeated Mount Vernon 39-28 early in October. But this is a different Mount Vernon team, and that game was much closer than 11 points. The class of the area may be Mountain Grove, a team coached by a longtime Ava coach, Dan Swafford, who stepped away from the SCA to be on the staff at Evangel while his son played for Coach Heppola and the Valor. They have won 8 in a row, including a win over Thayer this past week. In Class 4, you see Logan Rogersville will host Carl Junction, whom they defeated 41-34 earlier this year. Coach Joe Wells and the Wildcats are 8-2 in Wells' first season back in Missouri, earning Coach Wells the Springfield Area Quarterback Club Large School Area Coach of the Year. West Plains will host Monette, whose quarterback Dylan Washik leads the state in passing yards, just short of 4,000 yards. In Class 5, probably the biggest matchup in the state was Republic hosting Webb City. Earlier this year, Republic defeated Webb City 27-21, and Carthage hosts Neosho, who they just played 2 weeks ago, and defeated 56-14. So that's a matchup there, probably, if the chalk holds, that will feature Republic at Carthage in a game that was 30-28 just a few weeks ago on a controversial ending there in that contest on an interception. Class 6, it's going to go chalk. All the top seeds are going to win tonight. Nix is going to defeat their opponent. Blue Springs South, that's the one matchup in the state. Blue Springs South will be hosting Blue Springs, and obviously a rivalry game. But Blue Springs South, CBC, and Nixa are clearly at the top of the class when it comes to Class 6. And I don't know that anybody is beating CBC here as we go on. This is Guy Newcomb here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Certainly glad you have tuned in. And by the way, hey, are you turning 65 soon? Already retired? Medicare can be confusing, but it doesn't have to be. At Calhoun and Associates Insurance, hey, they make Medicare enrollment smooth, simple, and stress-free. And that's just the beginning. From choosing the right plan to creating a retirement strategy that lasts, Calhoun and Associates Insurance is your one-stop shop for a secure future. Hey, they'll help you understand your options, avoid costly mistakes, and build the retirement that you deserve. Because you've worked hard your whole life, and now it's time to enjoy it. Calhoun and Associates Insurance, hey, call them today at 417-379-2157 or visit CalhounInsurances.com. Your golden years start with a golden plan. And we'll be back right after these messages, and you'll hear from our athletes of the week, our Missouri milestones. And hey, as always, keep it right here at the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Hey, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminders, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Talk to you later tonight.
Things are a little tight for Terrence right now. But they won't be for long, because Central Bank makes it easier for customers like Terrence to dream bigger.
More room would be nice.
With mortgage solutions that can open the door to more space.
That's what I'm talking about.
For his growing family.
Growing family?
Honey, guess what?
You got this, buddy.
Unplug and unlock. Road trips on easy mode. And a really big touchscreen for the biggest jams. And qualify for up to $7,500 in tax credit with the Equinox EV. unlock the tech and the value. With the 2025 Equinox EV, America's most affordable over 315-mile range EV. And Chevrolet, together let's drive. Any given Saturday. And a little work. And a little play.
Hey, little help?
And a truck that says no to nothing.
Hi, Dad. Can I give them a ride?
Yeah.
The Silverado Trail Boss and Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Leaders know there's no guide to greatness. When everyone else says something can't be done, they know it only hasn't been done yet. True leaders weather the fiercest storms and look deep within themselves to rise above and help others find their way forward. At Great Southern Bank, we're proud to partner with visionaries that help raise the tide for all of us. And when you're ready to bring your vision to life, we'll be right behind you with award-winning support.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start?
Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool. On the field. Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends. Yeah! Be great.
Participate!
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Missouri Milestones, the podcast here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Guy Newcomb alongside Kent Mueller, and we go to Willow Springs High School here as part of our Missouri Milestones, the podcast, and we bring in the athletic director, Robert James, along with his son, Colby, and a cousin, Megan James, also in the room, all members of the Missouri Milestones. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Well, thank you for having us. We're excited to talk to you.
We'll start with you, Robert, in a little bit. Your dad is also on the list, David James. He graduated in 1963. What kind of fond memories did he share with you about his time playing high school basketball?
You know, he basketball was always, his favorite sport. But he played some baseball and football as well. But, basketball, he really just talked about, the old days and said that, he wished he had a 3-pointer and he, I ended up scoring more points than him. So he kind of would maybe harass me about that, about if there was a 3-pointer that wouldn't have had 3-point line, that might not have happened. But he had a good career here at Willow Springs and has a lot of good memories with his teammates. He talked about some of his teammates and he had some good ones. He also went on to play at William Jewell for a couple of years. So he's got a basketball background as well and kind of definitely got me involved in it.
Well, see now, Robert, you're not going to have that excuse this year when Colby passes you because you had the 3-point.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I've come to grips with the fact that he's better than I was, and I'm good with that. So that's completely fine with me.
Let's take us back to your high school career. You graduated in 2000. You're the all-time leading scorer of over 2,000 points, 2,014 points. What are some memories that stand out for you in your time of playing?
I had a really good experience playing basketball here. I played all the sports here, anything that I could play, but, I was fortunate to play for some really good coaches. And in today's world, kids don't always get to have the same coach their entire career. And I was able to do that. Played for Coach Brent Colley, Hall of Fame coach. And, he just, we didn't talk a lot about these types of things, scoring points and this and that. It just wasn't something that was really important. We were trying to win games, and my memories are playing in 3 out of 4 years, played for district championship. We were, Coach Colley always really prepared us to be at our best at the end of the year. And, I just remember how special those championship games were, and the crowds, and, it was just a great environment. A lot of good basketball back at that time. that was kind of course, Hartville's always good, but we would see them in districts, and Alton Comets were always good back then. Just had a lot of good battles with some good players against good coaches. And, of course, my teammates, still friends to this day. And, that's what I remember more than anything, definitely way more than, milestones or points or anything like that. So.
Well, Brett Colley's from my hometown, I believe. Mount
Vernon.
Mount
Vernon. I was thinking, yeah, he is.
And I've got some other ties down there. Todd Leach, good friend of mine who graduated from Willow Springs. Todd Stanfield, who I don't think finished there when his dad moved to Hillcrest to coach, but some good connections. Darren Taylor, I think, is from Willow Springs.
Darren is, yep. Still, I still talk to Darren. Actually got to talk with Todd a few weeks ago. He came back for one of our home football games, and when I was a young kid, those were the guys that I looked up to, Todd Leach, and, I wanted to be a ball player like Todd, and, Doug Summers and Darren Taylor, guys like that. So, I still, definitely talk to those guys, and they were good ones, good players.
Yeah. Leach, I'm watching ESPN the other night. Well, this is last softball national championships, and he's got two daughters, I think, playing at Tennessee, and they interviewed him in the stands.
Yeah. Yeah, his girls all played D1 softball, and I saw one of his daughters on ESPN coaching a professional softball team not too long ago as well. So they got a lot of good connections from Willow.
Robert, if you could go back and just pull out some games that really stand out to you, some games that you'd like to go back and play again. Maybe it's when you scored your 2,000 point. Maybe it's a game, and it could be a game that got away from you. Like, hey, I'd like to play that game again. We should have won that game. And they all had. And most of them were lost. As a former player myself, the games I remember are the ones that got away from me. What are some games that stand out in your memory?
Well, obviously, the one that just stings the most. Basketball, you play a lot of games, you don't remember them all, but I do remember the ones that hurt the most. And lost to Hartville in sectionals my senior year, and that was it. We just kind of came to an abrupt end, and we all had dreams of getting to the Final Four, and we felt like we had a good shot. And we were a pretty good team. We had a lot of size, and we beat Hartville a few weeks prior. 15, 20-point win, and we go into sectionals and we lose to them in a close game. Mike Wilson was the coach at Hartville at the time, and I still give him, I still kind of mad at him over that, but no, he was a good coach. Coach Colley had us prepared for a deep run, and it just got away from us. And that one stings a lot to this day, and it does to my teammates as well. That's one I still remember because it was a close one and just seemed like we couldn't get over the hump and ran out of time. So that was tough.
Well, Mike Wilson's been a part of two heartbreaking moments there at Willow Springs, as he was in the stands at Holcomb when Darren Taylor hit the shot that didn't count.
That's the famous shot, and I believe Megan's dad was on that team. My uncle Matt was on that team as well, and so if you're from Willow Springs, you know all about the shot, the Darren Taylor shot, and my grandma would talk about it. It was good. And she still, would always say it was good, so it should have counted.
Yeah. That's something you can't. I'm president of the Springfield area tip-off club, which is, you get Drury, Evangel, and Missouri State, but you get some of the area high schools, and that's something you can't talk to Darren Taylor about. He will not talk about that even to this day.
Yeah, I can see that.
Very good. Well, Kent, do you have some questions for Robert?
Well, yes. You graduated in the year 2000. Your son in 2025. That's not that long of a time, but that is a quarter of a century. What, from looking back to when you played to when Colby's experience this year, what changes do you see that has occurred over that time? How is it different from your experience to his experience?
Everybody talks about, always better back when I played. I guess that's human nature, but I don't know that that's the case as far as talent was better. It was just different. We didn't have all these opportunities, work, Colby's working out and he's training and he's going to see, people to help him get better at his fundamentals, on a weekly basis. And, when I was growing up, it was just, I'm getting out in the neighborhood on an outdoor court trying to beat, beat my buddies that live down the street, and that's how we decide. That's how we played basketball, and maybe had a little more creativity in that aspect of it. But the game, we of course, people like Todd Leach and Darren Taylor would say that Coach Colley was softer on us, but I feel like we were still a lot of slow it down and move the ball around. Let's get a good shot, and we can get that 3-pointer anytime we want it. Let's not do it on the first pass. Those types of things. And now Colby gets to play a wide open style. They push the ball and run, and they try to score a lot of points. So I think that's a little different, and a lot of that's kind of the thing in the area, just in general now. But just the opportunities these kids have is just so much more. All the travel ball. We spend our summers in hotel rooms playing basketball, and I always tell them I don't want them to burn out on it. I want you to enjoy it. They enjoy it. They love it. They run around these hotels with their buddies, and they do that kind of stuff in the summers. I didn't grow up doing that kind of stuff, and that wasn't, I guess, that long ago, but that just was not a thing back then. So I think the kids are just as talented or more talented probably than we were back then.
That's right. I mean, I played basketball, but a fair amount earlier than you did, and it was just a little bit different back then. The emphasis certainly was more on ball control. Let's try to score on the fourth possession this time,
yes.
That type of thing, rather than hey, go. And it's all good. I mean, it makes for great basketball. Now, you're kind of in the middle of 3 generations at least of basketball players in your family. Just some of the dynamics in your family. Obviously, sports. I'm sure there are other sports, but what family dinners wind up talking about basketball? How does that work out?
Yeah, it's been special for me, and Colby has a brother that's a junior, Brady, and a little sister, Audrey. She's 5th grade. She's starting to get in it. Matter of fact, I'll be coaching her this winter in a league. It's just for me and my family. It is, we're a sports family. We talk about it. We watch it. At one point, we had Memphis Grizzlies season tickets, and we're just driving to ball games all the time, and it's just what we enjoy. And the boys and I text each other stuff about basketball, and and it's just kind of how we bond. We definitely do other things, and we're interested in other sports as well. But it's pretty special to us, and growing up, it was to me too. I wanted to be like those guys I looked up to. So I just enjoyed playing the game. I never really worried about anything other than I just wanted to go play the game. So for me, that's how I got, a little bit of success at it. It was just the joy playing. I just like playing the game. To me, it's the funnest, thing that I could do as a kid. Sure wasn't going to sit in the house. So.
Very good. All right. Well, Megan, who's your cousin, graduated in 07, also over 1,000 points. Megan, hey, thanks so much for being part of the show this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Megan, tell us a little bit about your memories going back. You graduated in 07, so relatively recent. You haven't got to your 20-year reunion yet.
Yeah.
Tell us about what memories you have growing up there in Willow Springs playing basketball.
Well, I'm kind of like Robert. We just played outside all the time. I remember being little, and he was in high school, and he would come to our house and play. I have a sister who's 2 years younger than me, and she played basketball. She probably would have also hit 1,000 points had she not blown out her ACL and lost half of her junior year. But so most of my basketball memories revolve around our family. My sister and I played basketball nonstop when we were little. We had a basketball court outside. And then getting to play in high school with her was very special to me. We got 2 years to play together. And so that's a huge memory for me. Also, Robert was one of our coaches my senior year, Lindsay's sophomore year. And that was really fun to be able to have that. But, basketball, like Robert said, it was my favorite thing to do. It was all I could think about. That's what I wanted to do in all my spare time. I'm a very competitive person. And so just the competition, I just love the game. I still do.
tell us a little bit about your memories, games that you really enjoyed or you'd like to go back and play again. And it could be maybe a rivalry game, and then talk a little bit also about some of your rivals.
So, okay. So I remember one game specifically early in my senior year, and I think we were playing Gainesville and it went into overtime, but that game was really enjoyable because I played predominantly inside. My sister was more of a guard. She's a good, 3-point shooter, and they just really struggled to guard us inside and outside. It went into overtime, and she and I, combined for several points that night. And so that was a fun game. I also remember the last game we played my senior year in the district tournament, and just those last few minutes of the game, realizing that it was the last time I played basketball. And that's kind of a heartbreaking feeling. I played volleyball also, and so that's what I did in college. So just knowing that was the last basketball game I was going to play, that I think will always be in my memory, and I'll remember that feeling. And then what did you?
Some of the rivals, who were your rivalries, maybe individuals or teams that you look forward to playing?
Yeah. So Mountain Grove, that was always a big one. We always had a big rivalry with West Plains when I was growing up. And then Houston had strong post players. And so that was always a big game, a big matchup that I enjoyed.
So what are you doing now to kind of stay around the game? Do you still attend games? Obviously, you've got relatives playing and coaching. What are you doing now to kind of stay around it?
Well, so when I'm a teacher. When I first started teaching, I coached basketball. I started in Monette before I moved back home. But I coached basketball for a while, and I have coached other sports as well. My husband and I have 2 little boys who I hope will be basketball players. They're 1 and 3. So I'm not coaching right now because they take a lot of my time. But of course, we love to come and watch Colby and Brady play, and just love the game. Always have.
Very good. Kent, do you have any questions for Megan?
Well, yeah, you say you're not coaching now, but I have a hunch that your 2 sons already have a basketball.
They do.
So I think you're coaching now, and that's part of the development. You said you played on the primarily on the inside. What was your preference, man or zone?
Ooh, definitely man. And on offense, I liked to play with my back to the basket. Feed the post, catch the ball, score. Excellent.
And you had mentioned rivals. What about? Do you have memories of any specific players that you would come up against?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I remember that. I don't honestly remember their names.
So that's. But I think that's great. The girls' game has, I think, completely caught up with the boys' game over the years. What changes have you seen going back to when you were watching before you played, when you played, and then on into today?
Well, and I agree with you. I feel like girls have become more athletic. Obviously, girls' sports don't have the long history that men's sports do, but I think that the skill and the athletic talent that girls have is just as much as boys. And Robert was mentioning how the boys play a faster pace, like a run and gun game. And while girls may not jump as high or run as fast, the skill that they have to be able to shoot the ball and guard is just as good, maybe even more so than the boys. And I definitely think that girls' sports are just as much fun to watch.
I agree with that completely.
Very good. Now we'll go to the current high school athlete, Colby James, and I'm not exactly sure where your points are right now, but I know you're approaching 2,000. Kobe, thanks for being part of the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Kobe, tell us a little bit about your game and going back maybe even to your freshman year, what your role was initially on the team and how that's changed. What's your role right now?
My freshman year, I was still probably our main scorer. I led the offense as a freshman, and up to now, it's pretty much the same. Try to score and just really get us in our offense and be a leader.
What was it like that first time as a freshman stepping out on the court in a varsity game? What were the nerves like?
I don't think I was nervous. I don't think I really knew what to expect. I think I had a good game though. It was my first game, and yeah, I don't know, it was fun.
Probably more nervous right now doing an interview than you were then.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he's took enough verbal abuse from his dad over the years. A ball game's not too concerning to him.
Kobe, tell us a little bit about your rivals, and they're current for you. I mean, what teams or schools do you look forward to playing, and maybe individuals that you've kind of grown up, and they could be friendly rivals. You just enjoy playing against them because they're talented as well. Talk about some of those teams and those individual players.
Some of our rivals, probably Mountain Grove, Thayer, Mountain View. Those are teams that we've always kind of competed hard against. Yeah, a lot of those teams like that. A lot of SEA teams.
If you could get in a time machine right now today and go back to that Kobe James who was in the 8th grade and give yourself some advice based on what you know now as a senior, what advice would you go back and give yourself? Would it be maybe get in the weight room more, or classroom? What advice would you go back and give that 8th grader?
Yeah, I would say definitely weight room more, because as a freshman, I wasn't as strong as I was now. Yeah, and probably get more focus in the classroom too. As a freshman, I wasn't doing too good, but I'm doing better now. So
yeah, he got called in my office a little bit as a freshman, but he's better now.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Now you got the season in front of you. What are some team goals and maybe individual goals that you have going into this 25-26 season?
Some team goals. I think we should have a good year. I think we should at least compete to be number 1 in SEA and win districts. Yeah, so I think we should have a really good season. And individually, I just want to do what I can to help the team and lead the team and just keep winning games.
How many points shy of your dad are you?
What?
How many points shy of the record are you?
Oh, I'm not too sure. I think I'm around like 1,500, so probably about 500.
Oh, that's a tough task. That's going to be something to get to.
I'm not sure exactly what he's at either, but I might try to get him sick or something a time or two and send him out. But no, I think we're worried about having a good season and winning games. But if it happens, I'm very happy for him for sure.
Kobe, have you thought about what you're going to be doing next year?
Yeah, I'll play basketball at C of O, College of the Ozarks.
Very cool. And what led to that decision?
I really like the coach and all the people there. It's a very pretty campus, and my dad actually played there, and I think it's a very nice place to go to college.
Yeah, I had some nephews played baseball there at College of the Ozarks, so a great university there as well. Kent, you got the questions for Kobe?
Well, yes, Colby. It's true that we shouldn't focus too much on numbers, but I'll just tell you that a personal goal. It's okay to have one that's past dad. I mean, that's as a father myself, that's much appreciated when a son wants to do that. I think that's good. We've talked a lot about changes from the past to today in the game. What do you expect to be changes in your life and how you approach basketball going forward now that you're going to be going to the next level?
I think going to the next level, I think it'll be a lot more physical and a lot more faster pace, of course. So I think going to the next level, I'm going to have to really adjust and get to their pace of play.
Good.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be faster and more physical.
Well, I certainly also want to mention Robert Stad David James is a 1963 graduate with over 1,000 points who we were hoping could get here, but 1963 graduates, we've had one of them on. That guy graduated in 1963 from CBC High School, who was the first one to go over, Jimmy Gummersbach, and that was one of our first interviews. But again, congratulations on being part of Missouri Milestones, the podcast, and the Milestones. There's no secret handshakes. There's no dues. No secret knocks on the door. You guys have already made it. That list, you'll be on that list forever. But we certainly appreciate your time here. And just a couple questions. One for Kobe. Kobe, what's your least favorite chore to do at home?
Least favorite chore? Probably if I have to unload the dishwasher or something like that.
All right.
Yeah, he avoids that. That's for sure.
All right. Megan, do you have a least favorite chore?
Oh, probably right now changing diapers.
That is a first.
Yeah.
We did have two different ladies, and they were high school students who we interviewed back to back, and their least favorite chore was picking up dog doo-doo out of the backyard. And I was like, okay, well, it's so similar. But Mr. Jones or Mr. James, do you have a least favorite?
Well, probably making the bed. That's the one I get complained about the most. Just gonna get back in it later. I don't see the point in it, but making the bed is a annoyance for my wife, I would say.
Yeah. Well, my father, we always had to make our bed. He was military, and you had to have your feet under the breakfast table at 7 a.m. and your bed had to be made. And that was just kind of a rule in our house. First thing you do when you get up in the morning, you thank God for waking you up, and then you make your bed.
That's right.
Well, I have one final question is for all of you, and I'm a mandated reporter for the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Do you always wear your seatbelts?
I do, and he better.
I do.
Very good. Well, that started in 2008 with the Be Safe, Be Smart, Be Here Tomorrow campaign that we launched. It was actually at Lebanon High School because the high school football coach at Lebanon, Will Christian, I had a couple kids get in my car, and I was just driving a couple of blocks, and they both put their seatbelts on immediately. And I said, I know you're getting in somebody you really don't know. Why you put your seatbelts on? I mean, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
But where's that come from? They said, if Coach Christian sees us anywhere in town and we don't have our seatbelt on, our name goes up on the board and we have to run reminders. And that has stuck with me for 20 years.
That's great. That's really good. I know our coaches do things like that as well. We're really, we worry about our kids for sure. So that's great.
Well, I believe it was Willow Springs last year on the girls basketball team that did a little skit. And I don't know if you've seen that, where they did a skit, and we've been airing it. We aired it for about 6 weeks, but I'm going to see if they'll do it again. I don't know if they're all still in high school. But,
I remember that. Yeah, that was neat. Yeah.
So, well, anyway, lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of Missouri Milestones, the podcast, and congratulations. And Kobe, good luck this year. And hey, let us know when you get to 2000, and then let us know when you get to 2015, because we'll get you back on as a Chevy Dealers Athlete of the Week. So, but we appreciate it. You've been watching Missouri Milestones, the podcast here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, presented by Liona Labor's Local 663, building Missouri and reminding us, hey, drive safely in those work zones. Those folks want to go home to their families as well. Also presented by the Bank of Billings, established 1889, the oldest bank in Christian County. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow.
The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network. Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, alongside here, and it's time for our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week, presented by the Missouri State Highway Patrol, who reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Also presented by the Bank of Billings, established 1889, the oldest bank in Christian County. We go to Clever High School, home of the Blue Jays, and bring in head football coach Mac Whitehead. Coach Whitehead, thanks for making this happen today.
Hey, I appreciate you having us.
Coach, before we get into our Athlete of the Week here a little bit, you guys are 8-2. The 2 losses are by a combined, I think, 6 points in those 2 losses. Talk about the season and just the turnaround there at Clever High School.
Well, I tell you what, our season, we knew last season coming off a 5-5 year that we had the potential to, maybe, make a little bit of a run with the kids we had coming back. And, we lost a lot of good seniors, but, our underclassmen, our juniors and sophomores from last year, they got a little bit of taste of that success and some wins, and they really kind of committed themselves to the weight room. And, we had a couple of key players coming back, and, it's been a wonderful, wonderful season. Our kids and our community are just, we're super excited about the opportunity to be able to keep playing past week 10.
Coach, what do you feel like right now as a team going into this week 11 game? What do you feel like right now you're doing really well as a team?
I think we're playing really good defense. You look at I think when Coach Rodriguez, we were looking at scores, in the conference, our defense gave up the least amount of points this year. And, you talked about earlier about we lost, 2 games in a combined 6 points. Well, there's been several times in the past couple of years where, we've given up 50 or 60 in a game, and, us only, giving up, less than 25 points a game, and being able to score and get people in situations where, they're uncomfortable and they've got to do things they don't want to do on offense, and that's a tribute to our defensive coaches, Marcos Rodriguez and Joey Rodriguez. Those guys they got our kids dialed in every week. And, if I had to put a finger on what we're doing really well right now, it's playing really good defense.
Coach, and obviously you played at Seneca High School. Most folks that are watching are going to know that, know a little bit of your history. This is back-to-back weeks where me, as a Mount Vernon Mountaineer guy, has interviewed 2 guys from Seneca, which was kind of tough, but got to visit with Shannon Crouch last week on our Missouri Milestones, the podcast. Coach, talk a little bit about how things have changed, since you played at the high school level, and also maybe a little bit of those memories with Coach Hodge, who was a legendary coach in that area.
Oh, I'm very fortunate. I think you talk to anyone that played for Tom, Coach Hodge, that's probably one of the best experiences that I could have had playing high school football was being able to play for him at Seneca. You mentioned Shannon, and growing up, that's all I ever wanted to do was be Shannon Crouch. He was kind of that idol that I looked up to as I was growing up. And, you look at being a tailback at Seneca, it was special. And it wasn't just, I think Shannon kind of started off, but there was, Cheyenne Cummings and several other, Austin Lear, that was a couple of years younger than me. I think we had 7 or 8 years of, back-to-back all-state tailbacks. And, that's, I kind of tease kids today, that was tailback you back then. We were, I formation, and it was toss right, toss left. And that's one of the biggest differences probably in high school football back then and high school football today. We're 2 tight end and a wing, and we were offense in a phone booth. And now, a lot of offenses are spread out, and you've got 3 or 4 wide receivers, and that's one of the biggest differences, back then and high school football today.
Coach, sitting alongside you there is a Springfield area quarterback club, small school defensive player of the year, Tavis Lemmer. Tell us a little bit about Tavis and what makes him special.
Tavis he's a great football player. He's a great worker. He's a great kid as well. He's probably one of the best tacklers, that I've seen in high school football. And, a lot of people look at it, he's a little bit undersized, but I tell you what, his motor just runs nonstop on defense, and he always finds a way to get to the football and be around the ball for every tackle. And I think he had over 100 tackles last year as a junior. He's close. He's right at that this year, and he missed a game. He's only played 9 games, and the game he did not play, we missed him tremendously. So he's a heck of a ball player. He always finds he's got a nose for the football. And he just plays hard all the time.
Tavis, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Tavis, first off, on behalf of Chevrolet and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, congratulations on being named an Athlete of the Week.
Thank you.
Tavis, tell us a little bit about your history. You're a senior now. Have you played basically the same position? How did you come in as a freshman? What position, and kind of how's that, manufactured itself into what you're doing now?
Well, as a freshman, I primarily really was like a fullback kind of position, but then we had some injuries, and so I got eventually moved to outside linebacker. And those freshman and sophomore year, both of those were butt whooping days. I got pulling my back a lot, but then junior year, I kind of moved back to where I was used to, where I played in middle school and played middle linebacker. And then that's where I am today.
Yeah. What about the position do you enjoy the most?
My favorite part is just blitzing. They know where you're going, and you just got to beat them.
Do you go to the sidelines and maybe try and get coaches to call certain plays on defense? Hey, I need to blitz more. I mean, are you lobbying your head coach or your defensive coordinator to call certain plays?
I try to. They don't listen too often, but I sure try.
Looking back over your high school career, what are some of your most fond memories? Obviously, this year you're having a tremendous year, but are there memories that stick out? Maybe big games, a big win, or a rivalry game that you're going to remember forever?
Something I'm going to remember forever is probably the Fair Go game this year. They stick it to us pretty hard the last 3 years, and then we finally got our chance to hit them back.
If you could get in a time machine and go back to that Tavis as a 7th grader and 8th grader and give yourself some advice. This is you going back and giving yourself some advice. Based on what you know now as a senior, what advice would you go back and tell that young man?
I told him that the weight room's always key. And as Whitehead always says, the mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people.
Very good. Now, being a senior, have you made any decision? And I know you've still got playoffs in front of you, but have you thought about what you're going to be doing next year?
I've been wanting to play at the next level. I'm not sure where at yet, and I really want to go somewhere where I can study physical therapy.
Oh, okay. Is there a background in your family with that?
My sister's a nurse, and my grandma was a nurse, but just something I've always kind of want to do, being around sports all the time.
Yeah. Well, I had an interest there as well, but mine was because I was always in the training room. I just need to be able to fix myself. But tell us a little bit about, you have any superstitions? A lot of folks got to eat the same meal before a game. They've got to eat the same breakfast that morning, or maybe a big pasta meal the night before a game. What do you do on a regular basis to kind of get prepared?
The first 3 years, our team, or even me, really didn't have much. But this year we started our other outside linebacker, Tyson Clark, every Wednesday. We go there, we eat, and then any home game on Fridays, we come to my house and we have a nice team dinner, and we just talk through stuff and just hope us bond more.
Very good. You looking forward to St. James coming to your place Friday night?
Yeah, it's the most important game. It's the next one. I'm ready to see what we can do.
All right. A couple fun questions here. Number one, do you have like a least favorite chore at home? Is there something when your mom or your dad says something, you're like, I don't want to do that?
Vacuuming. By far vacuuming. I hate it.
Do you have a favorite vegetable that you love, that you're just always looking forward to?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I don't eat too much of that healthy stuff now. It's a lot of junk food.
All right. And I've got one more question. It's for both of you. You can just acknowledge by raising your hand or shaking your head, yes or no. And I am a mandated reporter for the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Do you always wear your seatbelt.
Oh yeah, I do.
Very good. Very good. And, that started at Lebanon High School about 13 years ago when I had to take two kids about 2 blocks, and they both got in my vehicle and put their seatbelts on. And I asked them what the rule or why. And I said, I appreciated it. And they said, oh man, if Coach Christian sees any of us anywhere in town without a seatbelt, our name's on the board and we got to run reminders.
Oh my goodness.
Practice. So that's kind of always stuck with me. And, but once again, Tavis, on behalf of Chevrolet and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, congratulations.
Thank you.
You bet. Hey, you're watching High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. And we'll be right back.
Things are a little tight for Terrence right now. But they won't be for long, because Central Bank makes it easier for customers like Terrence to dream bigger.
More room would be nice.
With mortgage solutions that can open the door to more space.
That's what I'm talking about.
For his growing family.
Growing family?
Honey, guess what?
You got this, buddy.
Unplug and unlock. Road trips on easy mode. And a really big touchscreen for the biggest jams. And qualify for up to $7,500 in tax credit with the Equinox EV. Unlock the tech and the value with the 2025 Equinox EV, America's most affordable over 315-mile range EV. And Chevrolet.
Hey, welcome back to Missouri Milestones, the podcast here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Guy Newcomb alongside Kent Mueller from Playing on Sports here on this Thursday, and we are certainly pleased to welcome into the show 1988 Seneca High School graduate and current chief of police at the city of Lamar, Shannon Crouch. Shannon, thanks so much for your time today.
Oh God, thank you for the invite. I look forward to these all the time. Enjoy it.
Well, I tell you what, Shannon, you and I graduated the same year. Unfortunately, I don't know that we ever played against each other because I was injured in the game my senior year. I didn't play that game. You were injured in the first half of that game at Mount Vernon. But tell us, over 7,700 total yards in high school. Tell us a little bit about those memories. Maybe going back to your freshman year, because I know you spent a lot of time on the field. You carried the ball a lot of time. 880 carries in your career. So tell us a little bit about your memories.
Well, playing football at Seneca under Tom Hodge, was a learning experience that has lasted a lifetime. And it wasn't just the stuff that we done on the football field. It was the leadership that extended well beyond the end zones or the sidelines, if you will. But, I remember moving into Seneca. I was an outsider. My parents weren't from there. I wasn't from there. And, and I started playing defense. That's where I was at. I was an outside linebacker, loved it. And ran a little bit of tailback, as a freshman. And actually, Scott Cooper and I, we got to play quite a bit at our freshman year on the varsity level with the guys. And, of course, Scott was our quarterback. But as a freshman, he was like our so he played on the line. And, our roles completely transitioned like they normally do in high school from your younger years on up. But, I got the opportunity, our first game of the year, our sophomore year, our running back, which was Jerry Hembry, he got hurt. And I hate to be cliche about it, but, I went in as running back and never looked back after that. I kind of found my spot, if you will. And the the relationships and the camaraderie that we had is second to none. Obviously, we're all older now and retired and got our own families and grandbabies and everything. We don't talk as much as we used to, but we still communicate back and forth. But Tom Hodge was he was a developer. He was a leader. He emulated every fine quality that any coach would ever aspire to be. That's the stocking cap. Everybody remembers the stocking cap that Tom Hodge wore forever. And Tom was not a yeller as a coach. But boy, when he would come up to you, he would get real close and he'd grab your shirt. And he'd talk through his teeth. You knew that you needed to pay attention. And he was a great person to emulate your lifestyle afterwards. There's much more to life than football.
Are there games that you can recall, and there are for me as well, that I would like to go back and play again? Maybe a game got away from me, or maybe it was a state championship game that you got to play in that were just great memories. Like, man, I'd like to do that again. Are there games that you really look back at and say, man, I'd like to go play that one again?
Yeah, there are a few, but I would be totally miss not to say, I appreciate the fact of the numbers that were able to be built in my high school career, but none of that would have been possible without the old line up front. The Claude Merrimans, the Chad Nolans, Brad Hembrys, Chad Smiths, Eddie Broderick, Travis Holcomb, Jeff Howard. All of those guys done their job. So I just happened to be the guy carrying the ball. Without them doing it. But man, I think the game that sticks out in my head the most, and I actually think this game's actually on YouTube. Somebody put it on there. But I think it was the Carrollton game. And they were supposed to come down and just whoop the thunder out of us our senior year. They came down. It was the first time I was ever privy to a tailgate. These guys come into our facility and they broke out their barbecue grills. They were grilling a steak and everything. And we're like, what the heck is going on here? We'd never seen that. And, I think we won that game 58-6. I think I got to play right at 2 quarters of that game and touched the ball 18 times and had over 300 yards. And, that was a game. I still remember that. I would tell my boys, growing up and even my daughter, but, I said, they're like it whenever you break one and I said, there's just nothing like it. And I could always hear the roar of the crowd, whenever I would break one up the middle or cut the edge on the outside and no one was around. That game has always stuck in my mind. There are 2 state games that I played in. I don't know if you call it the state championship curse or whatever, but I've always said the 2 worst games of my high school career. I never felt that the performance was up to par, if you will. Even though there was good things happening in those 2 games, don't get me wrong. We lost our junior year and senior year we won, but it just in my eyes only.
As you look back, who were some of the biggest rivalries, the games, maybe Big 8 conference games, and the Big 8's changed obviously a lot since we were in high school, but who was the rivalry game that you really look forward to getting up against?
Oh my gosh, everybody in the Big 8 conference was a rival to Seneca. I remember, I think my sophomore year, it was a big thing, Lamar, and it was at Lamar, I believe. It was either Lamar or Aurora. I can't remember now that I say that. was when I went over 1,000 yards the first time. And I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. I hit a milestone, and not knowing what it was, and then the next couple years, well, I'd met that milestone in 4 weeks or so. But the Lamar was always a huge Big 8 rival with Seneca. McDonald County was always a big rival for Seneca. Monette was, obviously everybody in the Big 8. You could beat each other in any given Friday, right? But both of them, all of those teams, it was just who was going to have the upper hand that day.
Well, the game that sticks out to me, of course, I was at the game because it was at Mount Vernon, your senior year, our senior year. And we find out, just prior to the game, number one, I wasn't going to play. I had kind of a little bummed up knee issue, and my dad said, hey, probably ought to sit this out. And Patrick Oschlager didn't play, but he had broke his ankle against Webb City earlier that season. So we're standing on the sidelines, and then we find out that Shannon Crouch isn't going to play. We thought, well, we're going to win this game.
Yeah.
And you did not play in the first half. And in the second half, you talked Coach Hodge into strapping your dislocated shoulder underneath your shoulder pads and came out and rushed for over 200 yards in the second half, and we got beat 36-30. What do you remember about that game, and how did you talk Tom Hodge into letting you play?
This was, I think Coach Hodge probably let me play because he was sick and tired of me yipping on his heels saying, Coach, let me in. Coach, let me in. He felt like, get out of here, go in finally. But, that was a very, very good game. And like we said, it was, I think at halftime, if memory serves me right, you guys were actually ahead. I think at halftime. And of course, I think we went into the gymnasium there is where our halftime was at, not in the locker room like they are nowadays. But, I was just begging all the coaches, like Coach Simpkins, Coach Hughes, Coach Hunt, you got to talk to Coach Hodge. You got to let me go in and play. You got to let me go in and play. The week before, because I dislocated shoulder against Webb City, and we won that game, which was another Big 8 rival back in the day. I had a brace, but my mobility, I think it only let me have like 18 or 24 degrees movement. That was it. And, I got to go in, and I think the first couple of runs, I made some pretty good yardage, and Kevin Reinhardt. For those who don't know, Kevin Reinhardt, in my opinion, is the best official ever in the state of Missouri in high school football. I love Kevin Reinhardt to death, and I run the ball, and I'm yelling that I was back or something like that. Kevin helps me up, and he says, "Shannon, you need to calm down a little bit," because back in the day, you could do that. The officials could do that, and the athletes would adhere to what they were saying. But as the game went on, we kind of went back and forth on scoring stuff. And there at the very last, I can't remember how many minutes left or how many seconds was left in the ball game. But, one of the pass plays that we had, for me, I'm split out to the right. And, I think we've even talked about this before, Guy. I think everybody in the stands and everybody on the field knew where the ball was going, and Coop dropped back, and I went out to the I done a little end pattern sitting in the middle. I can't remember if I was exactly in the end zone or what, but he threw the ball to me. I caught it, and it was a go-ahead touchdown on that game.
Yeah, it was, I want to say it was 21-12 at half. We were up, and then we got beat 36-30.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly on that play right there, because you didn't have to kick the extra point. The game was over. And but no, it was a lot of fun. And then, later on that same season, we end up, both of us go on a recruiting trip to Pitt State, and we're there together. And do you remember who our chaperones were that day from Pitt State, the players?
Oh, he went on to play pro ball for the Seahawks. Monty Weathers and let's see, John Rod was there.
Yep, John
Scott
Rod.
Bailey was there.
Bailey.
Yeah, that's that was kind of the ones that I remember sticking out in my head.
Yeah, well, they didn't. I mean, Bailey was a year or 2 years ahead of us.
Yes.
But he kicked a field goal against Mount Vernon to end the game, and he didn't. That's the only field goal he kicked all in his entire career, and they beat us. And he reminds me of that all the time. But
yeah, and his hamstrings probably still pulled from that too, to this day.
Yeah. And, after high school, you decide to go to Pittsburgh State and play, and tell us just a little bit, just the 1 year there, but tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. Well, I had I chose Pitt State because at that time Dennis Franchione came to our house and persuaded me to come and visit Pitt State, and then of course I was over, and guys like yourself, you got John Rod there, you got Scott Bailey there, Blaze Bauer was there. Of course, I didn't play against him, but there was a lot of people that I had played football against. And even though we were on different teams, mortal enemies, right? Because you're on different teams, but there's a camaraderie there because you know each other. And I thought at the time that state would be a good fit for me. And made a lot of good friends there, ball there at Pitt. And I wouldn't say I was a rising athlete or anything, but my yards per carry stayed the same. I think in college it was like 8.2 yards a carry or something like that. But obviously the shoulder injury haunted me, and bigger, faster athletes, when you got defensive linemen running a 4.6 40 and they outweigh you by 100 pounds. My body just couldn't handle it anymore. And it was a decision that I made. And after that, I just went to work, started a family, and still married to the same girl, got, my high school sweetheart, Fonda, and we've got kids and a boatload of grandkids. It was all worth it.
Again, we're visiting with 1988 Seneca graduate Shannon Crouch, who's currently the chief of police in Lamar, Missouri, retired highway patrol. You were a motorcycle highway patrolman as well, but tell us a little bit about, making that decision there to go into the highway patrol. Who influenced that?
There was a guy a long time ago, back in 1992. I went to my very first academy, and I started out in Seneca as back then it was called part-time or reserve officers, and there was a trooper by the name of Steve Dorsey, and I still talk to Steve quite a bit. And he just come up to me one day and he said, "Hey, you ever thought about being a trooper?" And of course, I was excited that a trooper was asking me, "Hey, you ever thought about being one of us?" And at that time, a trooper had called an inquiry card for you. I had to take a test with the highway patrol. And he filled one out for me. I took my test the first time, didn't make the cut, and it happens. And then waited a few years and done it again. And then, of course, I made it through and graduated in 98 from the Highway Patrol Academy. Spent 26 years as a Missouri State Trooper. But my creditable years of service, because of all the time that I had built up, sick time and that other stuff, put me to 27 and a half years of credible service, if you will. But those times as a trooper, and I got to meet a lot of people. I met Herschel Walker several times on events that I was at. I got to do the NFL draft, done numerous dignitary projects or escorts and things of that nature. I was huge in veteran affairs. I escorted those guys across the state all the time as a motorcycle officer. But that job as a trooper, that was a good fit for me. It gave me a good life, good career, provided for my family, and good Lord kept me safe the entire time, whether I deserved it or not. But it was a good career. And then I retired in February of 2024 is when I retired.
You just can't give it up. So now you're the chief of police there in Lamar, Missouri, following in the footsteps of one Wyatt Earp.
That's right. That's right. And I'm looking for that Shetland pony to ride around. No,
very good.
It's a good community here. I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to what this community, what the police department can provide for this community. We've got lots of goals, lots of ideas. We've got a great assistant chief, Toby Luce, who actually was our age. We played sports against each other, and and we talked about that just the other day. He said, "Hey, you remember that one basketball game?" And I stopped him right there. I said, "I was a horrible basketball player." I said that was nothing I could do. The only thing I was allowed to do was jump, get a rebound, and pass the ball out to the wing. Don't dribble, don't shoot, don't do it, nothing else. That was my instructions as a basketball player.
Again, Kent Mueller's alongside, and Kent is in the Kansas City area, and he's been helping us put together these lists on the Missouri milestones, and I'm sure he's probably got a question or two for you as well, Shannon.
Go right ahead.
First of all, I don't want to make it sound like you played a long time ago, because I played over a decade before you did. Okay. But, and I mean, it wasn't quite the leather helmet era, but it was, it wasn't quite what it is today. What do you see in the changes in style of play for high school football back then, the late 80s and now?
That's a very good question, because I spent 19 seasons coaching youth football, and I started coaching youth football before I ever even had kids. And the main reason I wanted to do that was because Coach Hodge was always great about, saying, I'm going to add on to the things that you've already been taught, that you've already learned. Someone else is going to lay the foundation. Someone's going to put the walls up. Someone else is going to put the roof on, and then we're going to clean the inside up. And I always wanted the kids to have the proper instruction on how to play the game. Back in the day, I hate to say it, but you get, people would leave their heads. My goodness, it was a thing back in the 80s. Football games last 6-7 hours. Because there'd be so many flags. I remember whenever they come out with the rules that you couldn't do a slobber knocker on someone that wasn't paying attention. The long snapper always, he was a sacrificial person. He would snap the ball. He would turn around to see if his snap made it back to the punter, and the linebacker would just drill him. Well, now you can't do that stuff. And so, which is a good change. There's no telling how many times all of us athletes played games, we were all concussed and had no idea, only because it was like, are you bleeding? Is it broke? Then you're okay. Are you hurt, or are you in pain? All of things kind of gone by the wayside. And the ergonomics that they have made for the shoulder pads, the helmets, the spine pads, rib pads, all that stuff is a great change.
Well, you mentioned the slobber knocker being legal. That brought back a bad memory. I was out of the play. I was near the sideline. The play was clear over on the other side. I didn't see him coming, and I wound up out of bounds, and I didn't know where I was. So you can't do that today. Okay, and that's on the field. What about changes of or sense in the area of training, nutrition, improvements from back in the day to now?
Yeah, this stuff, and having a couple boys. I've got one. My youngest boy, he's a pitcher at Pitt State. That's where he's at. And then Cade, he ended up being a professional boxer for years. He's retired now. But, you know, we always talked about back in the day, you had 2 weeks of weights that you had to attend during the summer. And you had a weight class that was part of your 7 hours of school. And, you know, we ran sprints. And nutrition was, did you get anything to eat today? Here's you some crackers. You know, it wasn't, people weren't counting their carbs or proteins or macros. They weren't feeding the machine like they are today. And Coop, which is our youngest boy, you know, he's 6'2", 220 pounds, and he's a machine. And, you know, and this guy, he watches what he eats. We don't eat a lot of processed foods at our house, and he is constantly working out and doing plyometrics to build his strength, flexibility, all that stuff that we didn't even think about back in the day, you know. And athletes now are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and it's amazing to me because I always think, you know, back in our time, if we would have had the same opportunities that these kids had now, there's no telling what athletes would be like. You know, I was a guy that I used to lift weights at home in a mail bag. I didn't have weights, so I put rocks in a mail bag and put a rope on it, and that's what I'd do. I'd push a bale of hay up and down the valley at our house just to strengthen my legs. And I can only imagine, you know, and I ran a 4.40. If I would have had all that stuff, if I wouldn't have been able to hit that world-class speed, that 4.1, that 4.2, you know, and it just amazes me because I still look at these guys now, and you got 6'6", 385-pound linemen that are running sub 5.40s. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, you mentioned the weight training. I remember we had a barbell that was literally, it was a bar, and each end they were the big old-fashioned coffee cans that had been filled with concrete and set on each end. Yep. And nutrition was a double cheeseburger at Ricky's Cafe.
Yeah, exactly.
And I watch our two sons. You mentioned yours, and you know they're now around 30. They continue to train and compete in different sports in different ways, and I watch their nutrition in awe. You know, so it's something that, and you are correct. What if we had that knowledge back then, and that discipline back then, and those things, and which means that, gee, in another 40 years, what's it going to be like? It makes it exciting to watch.
Yeah, it does. I agree with you 100%. We're big college football fans at our house, much more prior to NIL deals. But these college athletes are unbelievable now, and kudos to them, you know.
Right.
All right. Well, very good. Well, Shannon, as always, it's always great to catch up with you. I was talking to Scott Purrier, you know, last night, and I was kind of telling him about this coming up, and he said, "You be sure and tell him hi." That was my first kind of experience, you know, at the Newsleader, was covering the Seneca Indians, and he said I got to interview him a few times, but he wanted me to make sure I told you hello.
Well, you tell Scott I said hey right back.
All right, very good. Hey, you're watching Missouri Milestones, the podcast here on the Missouri Sports Network. Certainly glad you've tuned in, and as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow.